I see slower growth over the next year and a half or so. So I think the tariffs are going to have a negative impact. They're a tax on consumers, and they're going to weigh on consumer spending. And then all the uncertainty we're seeing. Businesses don't know what the picture looks like. They're not sure how to invest. They're not sure whether they should be exporting or not. So I think that's weighing on the economy as well. But I think that consumers remain in fairly good shape. We've got decent job growth. We've got good wage growth. And that should be enough to avoid a recession in the near term. Yeah, because slower growth does not mean contraction. So you see us kind of muddling along, but not contracting or collapsing. That's right. So I think we'll see GDP growth a little bit north of 1% over the next couple of years. We will see a slowing in job growth, but that's to be expected given the tight labor market and the difficulty that firms are having in finding workers. But I don't see an outright recession unless we see something more substantive, either on the international front or on the domestic policy front. Do we need the Federal Reserve to, quote, save us, Gus? Well, I think the Fed has already taken a step by cutting rates earlier this year. I think we'll see at least a couple more rate cuts. They'll be looking at the data. I think that they are concerned about the uncertainty that's overhanging the U.S. economy right now. And if we do see a more substantive slowing, then we'll see further rate cuts and perhaps a resumption of QE if necessary. But do we need that? If the economy is not going to go in contraction or recession, why do we need more rate cuts or quantitative easing with $16 trillion in negative yielding debt around the world already, and a 10-year sitting at 1.46%? I think the reason we need it is because that we would see a more significant slowing if we didn't get that Fed easing. So that forecast that I gave you, that assumes that the Fed does provide some support to the economy in terms of rate cuts. I don't think we're going to need QE, but the Fed has certainly indicated that that's a further option if it's out there. But I do think that we do need rate cuts, over the next few quarters to make sure that we don't fall into recession. It's kind of a precautionary move by the Fed. They're looking at the signals. They are seeing slower growth ahead, and this is intended to offset some of that drag. Is there any part of the economy that you think is maybe being underplayed from a strength perspective? I mean, we go out there in middle America and we see people still buying homes and cars, and we know that manufacturing is slowing down. But is there something maybe we're not focused enough on, Gus, but we should be? I generally think that consumers are in pretty solid shape. So we've seen job growth over the past year, about 160,000 per month. Wages are growing at better than 3% annually, so that's about double the pace of inflation. Obviously the tariffs will be a hit to consumers, but I think that the fundamentals there continue to look pretty good. So I would expect that it's really consumer spending that is going to carry the economy through this soft spot that we're expecting to see over the next year and a half or so. Just quickly here, Gus, I know it's not related directly to this segment. I want to do a little breaking news, but sit tight because I want to get your reaction. We had reports that extradition bill that sparked the Hong Kong protests would be withdrawn. That moved Hong Kong markets overnight. And moments ago, it was made official. There you see video of Carrie Lam. She's the CEO of Hong Kong. Remember, they call it a CEO because it is a special administration region of China. And Carrie Lam announcing to China, to Hong Kongers, that extradition bill has been officially and fully withdrawn. Remember, that was one of, but not only, but one of the key demands of the protesters was to withdraw that bill, which basically would have said this: if you are convicted of a crime or at least accused of a crime in Hong Kong, you could be extradited to mainland China, where laws are different and most would agree are much more harsh. Hong Kongers, that set off the spark of protest here. They demanded that be shelved. It was temporarily shelved. Carrie Lam coming out moments ago and saying that was officially withdrawn. Hong Kong stocks rising 4% overnight. Dow futures up 200 right now. Gus, one more final thing for you, if I could, if you're still there. If we see Hong Kong calm down and Brexit maybe go off the table, as it appears like it will, you think that'll add any measure of confidence to our economy, or are we kind of separate and distinct from that? No, I do think that a big part of the drag we're seeing in the United States right now is coming from overseas concerns. So obviously the broader relationship with China, but also uncertainty about what's going to happen with Brexit and the European Union. So I think having some of those issues resolved would provide us a small boost to U.S. growth in the near term.